Alright, so in this video we're checking out the AVIONRC Nexa EVO Pro. This is a 3.5 inch micro quad, and I did videos on their 2.5 inch and the 3 inch previously. I'll link those down in the video description in case you missed those. Got the same flight controller as before, the JHE MCU. This is a F405 with 40 amp Blue Jay ESCs. Obviously it's an all-in-one whoop style 25 by 25 there, and this frame does accommodate a whoop style 25 by 25 and also 20 by 20 stacks, and there should be enough room in there for a 2-board 20 by 20 stack. And this one, because the air unit is here in the back, this one came as the one without the 03 air unit version. So basically frame with the motors and flight controller and the TPU parts all installed, and you just install your own 03 air unit. I made a video on the second channel on how to install that in case you bought this version and you want to install the 03 version. That video will be linked in the video description as well, but I built mine a little bit differently with a third-party antenna just to see if I would get any better reception. Yeah, basically if you want to do a little bit more longer range, that would probably go with a longer antenna like this, because the standard antenna is a bit on the shorter side for something that might be flying further away with a bigger battery. We'll talk about that here in a second. Obviously we're going to a different motor now because we're going to a 3.5 inch prop. They're going with these T-Motor 1604s, and these are 3800 kV. I like their motor choice here. Most of the people that are either building 3.5 inch quads or buying the 5%, a lot of them, they are using 1804s or bigger, like even like 2204s, 2105s, that kind of stuff. I'm not sure why. I think people think that these with bigger motors fly like a 5 inch, but I just think that they like the punch out power, which is like a one trick pony, and it doesn't fly as well in other aspects, in my opinion. This is my subjective opinion. I agree that the 1604 size is the better choice for this, and it lets you get closer to the 250 gram mark with the right battery. Otherwise, if you have like a giant 1804 or a larger motor, you're pretty much out of the 250 gram and under game, so just something to keep in mind. Now, in terms of other versions you can get, so you can get this with the 03 air unit or without. You get the frame kit only, you can get the analog version, and there's a walk snail version. There's no HD0 version. I'm pretty sure you can buy the 03 version or the version without the 03 air unit and add an HD0 VTX in the back here, because you have 25 by 20, 25 by 25 mounting holes and 20 by 20 mounting holes. So you can go with either one. And of course you can get Express LRS or TBS Crossfire receiver versions as well. In terms of the frame itself, it's a very standard kind of design. You have one top plate that goes all the way across. It's 2 millimeters thick. You have a staggered bottom plate set up here that sandwiches the 3.5 millimeter arms. So you have another 2 millimeter bottom plate here, and then you have a 1.5 millimeter mid plate here, and then the arms go in between those. A lot of 5 inch quads use this sort of design to get like basically removable replaceable arms here. So these are individual arms, they're all the same, and you just flip them over to accommodate which one you want, and you just remove this screw here. Let's see, I think it's just 2 screws, this one, and then you should be able to remove it. And then there's a brace piece here this screw goes into that keeps the arms from rotating. I added these little TPU, or not these little foam feet here, because the TPU parts don't have a little landing area like they used to, and otherwise you're landing on these screws, which is not good, because if you keep landing on these screws here, then we want to change an arm and trying to get this screw out, it might be stripped out. So that's why I added these little feet, and I just cut some foam that I had lying around. It just happened to be orange. It just looks like it matches, but it's just happened to be orange foam with some adhesive on there, and just attach that there. But yeah, it's a pretty standard kind of setup. A lot of 5 inch quads use the setup here. And then I'm okay with the air unit being in the back here once you're up to this size, because you don't really need the air unit in the middle to get CG correctly. You can put a wide variety of batteries here and it'll still balance. Even without a battery, it still balances okay. If you put like a smaller quad, like a 2.5 inch, and you put the air unit in the back here, then this back just kind of sits like there, and then you have to put the battery all the way in the front here. And on some designs that doesn't really work out so well. Here is the weight without any battery. Of course, I have a little bit longer antenna in here, so this is not going to be the exact build for a bind and flight. It'll be pretty close. And this antenna doesn't really affect the flight characteristics at all. So we're at 183 grams. Now, if you go with the larger 850, which is what I mostly flew with, and I think that's the right choice for this size, you're at 280 grams, so you're going to be over 250. Pittoon, I think, is best for this size. You can't even go bigger, so you can go up to like 1100, 1300 for us for longer flight times. This one is going to give you a range anywhere between, I'd say on the low side, 5 minutes if you're really going crazy on throttle, and on the high side, perhaps as much as 7.5 minutes. I typically got around 6 minutes on this battery for my flying style. And then if you want to get under 250 grams, the 660 GNB for us is probably the way to go. It's 246 grams, just under there. This one here will give you a range in terms of flight times as low as 3 minutes and as high as 5.5 to 6 minutes, depending on how you're flying. On this battery, I usually got about 4.5 minutes of flight, and just typical mix of freestyle and just kind of cruising around. So this once you get to 3.5 inch, you can use a wide variety of batteries and it'll be fine. And the Pittoon, I think, is nicest. It feels most locked in on the 850, and I think it gives you a good balance of performance and flight time. If you go a little bit lighter, you get a little bit more prop wash. The 660, I think, is just a little bit too light for the tune, and you get a little bit more prop washes, and especially if you're flying aggressively. But it feels like a rocket ship because it's so light and you got so much power available to you. It feels kind of crazy. Now, as you guys know, I typically I'm not a huge fan of the 3.5 inch class because they mostly come with the bigger motors, but I'm kind of warming up to it now with these smaller 1604s. I have like a different version of these on a 4-inch long range quad. I think I put it on the Flyfish. I haven't flown that in a while. It's a lower kV motor. This higher kV, 3800 kV on this 3.5 inch on Forest is pretty nice. I typically go for the smaller prop size, the 3-inch or the 2.5 inch. That's my personal subjective preference. A lot of people, they have their own preferences as to what they like, what they don't like. And the reason I didn't like the 3.5 inch size is because while you get the longer flight times with the bigger prop and a little bit more power, I just didn't feel like it had. And I don't think I flew it with the right motor. All the ones I flew with either were the smaller 1404 motor, which just kind of sucked, and then the bigger 1804 or like 2100 size motors just didn't feel right. Just felt too heavy, and it felt like it just didn't have the agility. This 1604 size, I think, is the right size for a 3.5 inch build. So whether or not you buy this one or are going to build another one, I would recommend looking at the 1604 size, 3800 kV. This motor particularly on this 3.5 inch prop, very, very nice. This is the Gemfan 3525 prop. I haven't flown this prop too much, and I kind of like this prop as well. So yeah, again, they did a great job on the Pittoon. Flight characteristics on this are really nice. They really match the 3-inch. It's just that, to me, just, obviously we're moving up in weight, so, and the agility level is not as much as the 3-inch. 3-inch is just, I think, I don't know. If I had a choice between buying this Nexa and then the previous 3-inch that I reviewed, I would just get the 3-inch because I feel like that was the most locked in quad or micro I've flown in a really long time. The 3.5 inch comes in pretty close. They did a good job with the tune and everything. It's just that again, my subjective preference kind of leans towards a smaller prop size. I just feel like it's the power to rate ratio, and then the noise level and all those little factors just leans towards going with a lighter it's just, for me, that's what I would choose. Now, for those of you that did watch the video on the 2.5 inch, there is a new version of the 2.5 inch that just was released. I don't have it yet. It's called the Icon 2.5 Max, and a lot of people complain that the basically a single board or like an all-in-one bottom plate here without replaceable arms was a mistake. A lot of people were like, oh, I don't want to get that because it has, not non-replaceable arms. The Max has replaceable arms now, so you should check that out if you're interested in a 2.5 inch version with replaceable arms. I think that's a bit heavier. I'm not 100% sure how much more it is. Hopefully I'll get that pretty soon, and I'll make a video on that. That'll come up a little bit later. Just want to make you aware that that's been released. If you've been looking for a 2.5 inch version of this with replaceable arms, they did make that, so something to keep in mind. But that's going to cover for this video here. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.